Trooper A1, The Purple Blitzkrieg by Gabrielle Marie Kozak. Book 1 of the Trooper series. Narrated by the author. Chapter 13. It didn't take nearly as long as Maura had worried. Within a few minutes of her boarding the bus, her phone started to vibrate in her pocket. Ignoring the curious looks of Lucinda, with whom she was sitting this fine morning, she answered it immediately. Maura, can you talk? Yeah, I'm on the bus. Are you done there? Maura asked eagerly. Yeah. A long pause. Do you want the good or bad news first? The good news, please, Maura breathed, her voice choking. What had happened to her twin? Well, we won't know anything for sure for a few days. That's not helpful, Maura reflected morbidly. What's the bad news? She made herself ask, shutting her eyes tightly. Okay, well, they might have found out where Connor disappeared to. They found some clothes on the banks of the harbor in an out-of-the-way area, and Connor's wallet and phone. And there was blood on the clothes. Maura caught her breath. A chill went down her spine. For a moment she was frozen, unable to speak. Is it Connor's? She whispered. That's why they had me come to the office. They took a sample of mine. In a few days we'll know, Victoria finished. That's all. Are you okay? Do you want me to pick you up from school? No, I'll be okay, Maura assured her, dazed. Good, there you go. If you need anything, call me. Dad'll be here tonight. We'll both drive to the airport to pick him up. Sound good? Later that day, she didn't know whether to be glad or regretful that she'd stayed at school. It had given her an opportunity to mask her feelings completely before returning home. But half the time she'd been there, she'd felt she was stuck in a horrible nightmare, and the other half she'd wanted to run throughout Annapolis till she found her brother. She had paid no attention at all, and it was a good thing for her that her teachers had some sense of what was going on and didn't call on her. Victoria picked her up after school. Maura noted the bandage on her mother's arm with something like silent horror. How was school? Victoria asked after a few minutes of driving were passed in complete silence. I dunno, Maura mumbled. She opened her mouth to speak a couple of times before the words actually came. Did they show you Connor's stuff? Yes, it was all his. They said they can give it to us when they don't need it anymore for their investigation, Victoria explained. Maura shuddered. What was it like? Victoria set her lips together tightly and avoided the question by skipping ahead on the conversation topic. Their theory is that someone attacked him on the harbor and threw his body into the water, she finished, her voice wavering curiously. I told them it makes no sense, seeing as he was nowhere near the waterfront and Connor was on pretty good terms with everyone we know, but the things are undoubtedly his. Mom, what are we going to do? Maura whispered, biting her lip. She shut her eyes tight and tried to drive away the image her imagination conjured up. An image of her twin. No, she wasn't going to think about that. What do you mean? Victoria forced out, playing for time. But Maura could see her face in the rearview mirror, and Victoria's face was white. What if they can't find Connor? Maura asked. Maura, really, change the topic. Her mother's voice was dangerously edgy. Maura stared out the car window miserably. Connor, where are you? Meanwhile. Giulia Pervito, the Italian waitress the Whites and Smiths had met at the restaurant on Saturday, was not accustomed to seeing unsavory-looking customers in the highly rated restaurant. In fact, she noticed that the manager gave them glances as if he was considering kicking the two out, especially when they didn't wait in line to be seated but claimed a lone table on their own. But the manager seemed to be a peace-loving man, and when he saw that the intruders weren't causing any difficulties, he decided to merely let them be. However, Giulia was relatively young. She'd been hired primarily for her bouncy, cheerful Italian heritage and not for her lack of curiosity, which did not exist. Though it must be said for her that when she was sent to get some glasses from the cupboard nearby that table, she had the sincere intention of going straight there and back without any lingering. But the words superhuman army caught her hook, line, and sinker. The next string of words, whispered in deep, masculine tones, nearly made her drop the glasses. When does the war start? And Cephalon says about 2 months, came the quiet reply. Are you in? Sure, a chorus laugh. Where? When? Here in a week, upstairs. They'll ask if you want to see the cook, and you have to say you want to speak to the manager instead. Spread the word, just to our type, of course. Here there was a soft chuckle. Giulia caught her breath. This was... What's the gain? The gain? You kidding me, man? You've got lifelong superhuman strength to gain and loads of spoils. Global. Giulia didn't wait to hear any more. Clutching the glasses tightly, she turned and fled. Dropping off the glasses at the kitchen counter, she made her way to the ladies' restroom, pulled out her phone, and dialed 911.